All right, Zach, let's hit up the running backs. We were having a conversation the other day looking at long-term wide receiver U, quarterback U, DB U, running back U, and certainly Nebraska's got a case long range, but it's been a few years. Mir Abdullah comes to mind where there's been a dominant back for the Huskers like there used to be in the days of Lawrence Phillips and Amon Green, etc. Ramir Johnson comes back after a nice season, 16 catches, 500 yards on the ground. Jaquez Yant as well. But it's been a kind of a thin position the last few years. How do you see the running back room shaping up?
Yeah, I think every single year with recruits and everything, I think most teams think they're going in pretty deep at the running back position because you have a lot of numbers there. But I think that there is I think it kind of goes hand in hand with the quarterback position. I think that there's a ton of different types of talent in this Husker backfield, and I'm really excited to see it. I mean, you talked about Ramir Johnson. We know how good he was, and he was a guy that started off fifth on the depth chart, and he had a fantastic year. Smaller guy, but runs really, really hard. Struggles a little bit in between the tackles, but has that ability because of his vision as a ball carrier. So I think he brings a good thing or something good to the table. Gabe Irvin, we saw him tear his knee week 1. He was a starter, first true freshman Husker starter running back in a long time. So I think we don't know what we have with Gabe Irvin. Jaquez Yant, big dude, 240 pounds, kind of that just absolute battering ram out there. And then you bring in the transfer from the JUCO national champions in Anthony Grant, who I think is going to give you kind of everything. I mean, if you go watch his film, he brings some speed, he brings some power. He's a little bit shorter of a guy that gives you that low center of gravity at the running back position. So I think with those four, not to mention some other ones, I know they got a big recruit, Ramir Johnson out of Minnesota, who's a 4-star. But I think with those four, I don't really see you missing anything out of those four because you have your power, you have your speed, you have your true one-cut backs in there as well. But then again, it just depends on how they progress through spring ball. I mean, that's what it all comes down to right now. It all looks good on paper. I mean, most teams think that going into the year it looks good on paper, but we'll see how they progress. But I really like what the backfield's at, and I'm really excited to see Anthony Grant and Gabe Irvin get out there. We haven't really seen any of them. Obviously, Anthony Grant's a new guy, and Gabe Irvin tore his knee. So I'm excited to see what they bring to the table.
So because of what you just said, this might be an unfair question, and maybe it's a better question a month to 6 weeks from now. But how do you see this playing out in terms of who gets most of the starts, who gets most of the carries, kind of the distribution of workload?
Yeah, I mean, if they all progress like you want them to, I kind of think it's going to be a ride the hot hand every week type of thing. Whoever's just running it really well and seeing it well. But right now, I would probably put the two guys that are going to lead this backfield, in my opinion, at Gabe Irvin and Anthony Grant. Gabe Irvin was starting for a reason. He was the true freshman starter for a reason. I think he has all the ability that Nebraska wants at a running back. And Anthony Grant, I mean, you're talking about a guy who put up ridiculous stats at a very good JUCO and did it week in and week out. So sometimes it's hard to see where the JUCO guys fit in and how quickly they transition, but there's a ton of talent there. So I think that those two guys are probably my leading candidates, but it's hard to sit here and, not put Ramir Johnson up there with what he did last year.